If there is one thing we've learned about the Cleveland Guardians this year is expect the unexpected. And when you think you know something, you don't know it at all. So how much will the numbers really matter as the Guardians and Tigers renew their rivalry in a playoff series today?
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into a playoff edition of Locked On Guardians. It is Wild Card Day, and we know things are going to get wild. And this is Locked On Guardians, the only podcast that covers the Cleveland Guardians every single day, from the majors, the minors, the draft, and everything in between. Proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team, your playoff AL Central champs. Guardians of Justin Lada have been with the network here, co-host and Locked On Guardians for the last 3 years, and I've spent 18 years covering the Guardians minor league system.
And I'm Jeff Ellis, your other co-host. I've been here since Locked On expanded into baseball. Before that, I was national writer at Scout and 24/7, focused on prospects in the draft. Shout out to all of our everydayers, including Donald, who I will again say, no, I'm not putting the toy away. Everyone loves the Rally Dino but you.
Rally Dino for life.
But we still appreciate you joining us, even if you don't enjoy our little jokes. On top of that, I want to thank you for making today's episode your first listen today and every day, wherever it is that you get podcasts.
We are appreciative that you are here with us getting ready for game one of the wild card. Get your antacids out, all that good stuff. I'll be taking my blood pressure medication every single day at the same time. On today's show, we'll talk about if the Guardians and we as viewers have to adjust our expectations for this playoff series. We'll talk about who's on the rooster for the AL wildcard series of the Guardians. We'll start off today's show talking about why or whether or not you should throw out all the stats when it comes to this matchup. As we get into today's show, it's Locked On Guardians is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if that bet wins, you're going to get $300 in bonus bets to use across the FanDuel app. Download the FanDuel app today. My theory about the series, Jeff, is that for the most part, I'm not saying everything, but for the most part, throw out the stats, throw out everything you know. The matchups, the scouting reports, those still matter, but when it comes to things like the regular season series or how this guy matches up with this guy, all that kind of stuff, the way the seasons has gone for both teams and the familiarity, all that kind of stuff, I throw the stats out because every time we thought we knew something this year, we don't know anything. And when you face a team 5 times in the year and you talk about the wild cards or the ALDS a year ago, all that stuff I think just throws everything out at the same time, and you really just got to go out and execute and hope for the ball bouncing your way for the most part in this series.
I still think there's enough there that you can, hang your hat on certain expectations. And, I still do when I'm looking at the way these two teams have matched up, what has gone well, what has not gone well. There is a degree of like, am I going to sit back and just think, oh, we took, 5 of the last 6. This is going to be a cush series. No, I don't. And I understand, yes, they did beat Scooball twice in the last series, but it does give, to me, again, for my money, if I could have any pitcher to pitch one game, I want Scooball. That's the guy I want right now in baseball to pitch for me. So that's a tough matchup. There's no way around that. But like when you're looking at this Cleveland team, you do throw out some of it, like you said, some of those smaller matchups, things like that. The important thing right now, like to me statistically, and one of the things I see, like when I see a lot of negativity from certain people, it's like, oh, the Detroit has Scooball and this and that. It's like, don't forget, Detroit's hitters have struggled down the stretch. That's why they collapsed. And they have to face this Cleveland pitching staff that has been, the best in baseball in the month of September. That when you look at highest WAR and lowest FIPS in the top 15 of that, it's not Gavin Williams. It's Tanner Bybee and Joey Cantillo. Like those are the guys who have actually the low FIPS and the high WAR. Gavin Williams has been great. Don't get me wrong. But like they've had multiple guys be just absolute horses for them down the run here. And that's why I'm kind of looking at those numbers, seeing those guys and seeing like who has really stepped up and who I feel like are the players I'm going to feel most comfortable with in those big moments. And that's the other thing too, like thanks to the postseason last year and the fact that they've done it 2 years in a row, we didn't have that gap year like in years past. Like everyone's got to feel more comfortable. Everyone's got to, for Detroit, they don't have that because they didn't win anything last year. Like you can't be comfortable. I know they won the wild card round, but
yeah,
like,
they did that. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like the wild card round is weird. Let's be real honest. There's a reason why no one fought for home field in the wild card round. It's just like everyone viewed it as more valuable to have your pitchers. But yeah, it's when you're looking at the overall thing of it right now, it's like Cleveland took 2 rounds. It's an experienced team. It's a lot of the same players, and hopefully they'll win the day. It's going to be tough, but I'm hoping they win the day.
Well, there will be, some new faces on the playoff roster that there weren't a year ago. Like, we know Slade Cecconi's starting game 3. That if it gets there, that'll be a big one. They are, got some new faces in the bullpen. I mean, Jacob Junis is celebrating his first ever playoff appearance in his entire career, which is crazy. So he's a new guy that's out there. He's never done it before. I mean, Kyle Manzardo was here a year ago for the first time.
Williams was not anywhere near as important a year ago is the thing.
He was not. No, he was not. And now you got guys like CJ Kafis playing, and Martinez was here. I mean, Arias and Rocchio are both here. Arias was not as big a factor last year as Rocchio was because you still had Andres Jimenez on this team a year ago. But there are some fresh faces like Kafis and Valera might be on the roster and all this.
Rodriguez has a good chance to make this roster in.
Probably, yeah. We'll talk about that in the second segment. But yeah, there are some new faces that are going to be a big part of this as well. I think the reason I say mostly throw things out is just because, like I said, there's just so much familiarity here. The teams don't need to go out and do heavy scouting reports on each other. And everybody's 0-0. Like the Tigers can take a deep breath now and they can reset and go into this month and not worry about how they play in September. Because right now everyone's 0-0. And the Guardians, they had a great September and it was a lot of fun. But now we turn the page because that month is over and that doesn't matter. I will say the one thing I'm happy for is that the Guardians didn't play this. They played this well to get in, but they aren't a top 2 seed, so there's no bye. The rest is great and all, but I think for how the Guardians have had to sprint into this postseason, I think a week off would have been bad for them. So I think this is probably the most ideal scenario. They have their pitching lined up the way they want. And yes, if you win, you won't have it lined up for the LDS the way you want, but you know what? You win the series, it doesn't really matter. I think this team would rather be playing today on Tuesday than they would sitting a week out, given the way they played in the month of September. But all that doesn't matter anymore. What they did in September no longer matters. Like, this is a whole new fresh start for everybody. Everyone's on the same footing. And how much can they go back and beat Tarek Skubal again? They didn't really beat Tarek Skubal. They beat the Tigers the days he was pitching, which is huge. Can you do that 3 times in a row? I don't really know. It's going to be very interesting to see what they do. Like they had him rattled one time before, so maybe they have found something against him that rattles him. Like I was asking, if you haven't listened to the crossover show with Locked on Tigers host Scott Bentley and I already on all over our podcast network, I asked him, I said, is bunting on Tarek Skubal, is that a thing you can do to get him out of his comfort zone? Like, does he have like a John Lester thing about, throwing to first or whatever? And he said, not historically, no, that was just one inning that really rattled him. That hasn't been an issue before. And I can guarantee you Tarek Skubal is not going to try to hike the ball under his legs again the second time. I'm pretty sure he won't try to do that again. So you don't have that advantage going for you. And there's nobody left in the roster you want him to plunk in the face. You didn't want him to plunk David Fry in the face either, but that's what I'm saying. All this stuff.
Fry bat against him. That could be the way to rattle him. Have David Fry step into the batter's box versus.
I think you just want to have like David Fry sit behind home plate in one of those front row seats they have this year that they took out the dugout suites. Just have David Fry sitting right there behind home plate. Now they won't do that, but yeah, none of this is going to matter. Like it's going to come down to who executes and who doesn't. Like I know it's cliche to say, but you talk about like Scott. Like there's no need for advanced scouting reports. These two teams know each other very well already. They know exactly. I mean, there's going to be no tricks, right? There's probably not going to be any tricks that you can pull out that this team hasn't seen before. Like if you go back to last year, this year, in the playoffs last year. There's no tricks. There's some new faces, but there's really no new tricks, except maybe there will be some new tricks on the roster. Are the Guardians going to pull a surprise on the wildcard roster? I'll talk about that next on today's Locked On Guardians.
You've probably seen a million ads for hair growth products and thought, sure, like that actually works. There are so many products out there. It feels like hundreds. And it's hard to know which ones are actually going to do anything. And that's why you should give Nutrafol a closer look. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand, trusted by over 1.5 million people. And now Nutrafol is the official hair growth partner of Major League Baseball. You can feel great about what you're putting in your body since Nutrafol hair growth supplements are backed by peer-reviewed studies and NSF content certified, the gold standard in third-party certification for supplements. I love the 2 keywords. I bring it up every time: dermatologist, and then here, peer-reviewed studies. You want to trust science. If you're going to spend money, it's not always the cheapest process, and that's why we're also going to help you out. So if you want to see thicker, stronger, faster-growing hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol, for a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Find out why Nutrafol is the best-selling hair growth supplement brand at Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB.
Appreciate y'all making Locked On Guardians your first listen today and every day, wherever it is you get podcasts. We love being part of your daily routine. It's our favorite half hour of the day. We hope it's yours as well. If you've gotten this far on the show and you haven't hit the bell on YouTube, now's the time to do it, because that is going to make sure you get all of the content we put up on YouTube sent right to your phone. So this episode, the crossover episode I did with Scott Bentley, host of Locked On Tigers, pre-game analysis, post-game reactions, any other bonus content we do.
People really liked the pregame analysis. From doing comments today, people really liked the pregame analysis.
Yep. That'll be out pregame on Tuesday as well. I'll have a little bit of a scouting report before the game, even though we don't need scouting reports, as we said. We really don't.
Didn't you just say we don't need those anymore?
We really don't. But get all the
Here's mine. Tarek Skubal. He's good.
Now, analysis. Yes, Tarek Skubal. Good pitcher. I agree. That is very accurate analysis, Jeff. You got that one right. Pat yourself on the back. But don't
think if I was, according to my mock drafts, if I was my shadow drafts, if I was in the Guardians front office, they would have Skubal and Dylan Dingler and Dominic Canzone, 3 guys that'll be big this playoff.
Yes. Jeff did a good job. Go check out the shadow drafts. Jeff's done. It's out there. And also make sure you're auto downloading on all your audio platforms too, so you get every episode all postseason long, off season long, all that stuff wherever it is that you get podcast. All right. We said the Guardians roster should be pretty easy to predict on Monday's show, right? Well, the Guardians, they might be throwing a bit of a curveball. So let's start out real quick. Pitching rotation, very obvious. Gavin Williams, Tanner Bybee. I thought Joey Cantillo made a lot of sense as the third starter, but I see the Guardians' reasoning that the Tigers haven't seen Ciccone in a while, and they do better against lefties. Yeah, he's a righty. They do better against lefties. So you get, you have Gary Carpenter and Riley Green in there, but with Ibanez and Jemai Jones, which I'm still mind blown by Jemai Jones. Gleyber Torres is better against lefties. You got Torkelson, Dingler. They do better against lefties. So I can see the reasoning behind Ciccone being there, and I think Cantillo goes to the bullpen. It just gives you another lefty to bring out of the bullpen because Cantillo's done it before, and that gives you a way to neutralize guys like Gary Carpenter and Riley Green late in the game because we're not really sure how much you can trust Tim Herron. Like, he got it done in Detroit a couple weeks ago, but, you never really know how that's going to go, and Sobrowski sometimes can have a little bit of issue strike throwing, although not that Cantillo has that. Yeah, not that Cantillo hasn't in the past, but the last run, this last month, has gotten better. He sure did.
Under 2.
Yeah, and then, there's Kobe Allard, too. But the Guardians have, I don't want to say an ace up their sleeve because he's not a pitcher, but a Chase up their sleeve. You got Chase DeLauter, who's hanging out with the big league club. He might be considered for the roster. He's practicing with the taxi squad instead of being in the Arizona Fall League. I know some people were like, oh, what about the AFL? Is he not going now? Well, the AFL doesn't start until next Monday, so he still has time to go But as of a couple days ago, the Guardians are considering Chase DeLauter for the playoff roster. He, instead of sending him to Arizona to get ready for the AFL, they said, you know what? Why don't you hang around Columbus and let's see what happens and make the playoffs? And here he is at Progressive Field. By the time you're listening to this, we're recording this at 10:30 on Monday night. By the time you're listening to this, there's a good chance we already know if he's on or off the roster because the roster's due at 10 a.m. on Tuesday.
So it's a great reward for a player who has gone through a lot and worked very hard. I don't buy it for a heartbeat. Your taxi roster is just there in case of emergencies. They're pretty well set, I think, in what they have. It is a great reward. It's a better place where they can work with him on very specialized stuff as opposed to Arizona, where they may not have, as many coaches there who can work in a one-on-one setting. It makes a lot of sense to have him on the taxi roster. But I also think, if they advance, then you're going to see him not be on the next one because they're going to want him to get reps more than anything else. You want this guy to get reps, and it's really hard to not have played a competitive game since July, roll out of bed when you've never faced this level of competition and face it. It'd be a great story, and people are going to be mad at me. And I know this is my wet blanket moment, and people don't like this, but I was wrong about them maybe waiting a bit longer on calling up Tanner and Gavin. So maybe I'll be wrong here as well. And I'd kind of be happy to be wrong because it would be fun. It would be interesting. It'd be something to look out for. I don't want to be right in this situation, but much like them putting Dom Nunez on there, I don't see either of those. Dom Nunez is there as an emergency. For Chase, this is a reward for all the hard work after a rough year for a guy that honestly, if they made the postseason, they were expecting to be on this roster anyways.
Yeah, my question here is let's entertain the fact that this is a possibility. Who is not making the roster because of Chase DeLauter? Who are you leaving off? Is it Petey Halpin? Because I value Petey Halpin as a pinch runner.
Yeah,
is it Angel? I guess in that theory, maybe it's Angel Martinez you can leave off because
you want him as the lefty platoon. He's one of your strongest lefty platoon guys. You're more likely to leave off Noel than Martinez.
Yeah, I guess if you consider one of Rodriguez or Noel off the roster, you could.
But I don't think they would. I think those guys are both going to start game one. I got to be honest. I'm not the biggest Noel guy, but I think both start game one.
So you're saying Noel at first and Rodriguez and Wright and Mansardo at DH.
Yep. Just like we saw over the weekend. I think it's going to be that same lineup. Like I said, I don't see a pathway on top of everything else.
It's hard to say. I guess you can't leave George Valera off at this point. He's played well in September and he's had some big hits for you.
That would be the one guy. If you're going to do it, it's honestly Valera would be the guy who loses out.
It would just be so weird. And I think that'd be a horrible thing for Valera given what he's been through too. He's been to the same trials and tribulations that DeLauter's
talked about it. I still don't know if they have so many young outfielders.
We're looking for Mr. Right Now. We're looking for Mr. Right Now.
And
who is Mr. Right Now? Is Mr. Right Now George Valera? Is Mr. Right Now Chase DeLauter? We don't know. There's precedent for it, right? There's guys that have done this before. There's Evan Carter.
But Evan Carter played at the end of the year, did he not? I believe he played the final.
He made his major league debut in the playoffs. There's Adalberto Mondesi for the Royals that did it. So it's not the first time it's been done before. I think it's been more.
Those guys were not missing. They didn't come off the IL. They had played the whole full season.
Correct. There was that aspect. Yes. The Rangers almost considered Wyatt Langford.
And he had actually played 23 games that year. Evan Carter
in the majors.
Yes. He was worth 1.6 WAR for them. He played the entire final month of the year.
In 2023?
Yes. So I was pretty sure about that.
Really?
Yes.
No. Okay. So
it's really, it is. I'd have to look at Mondesi, but he was more of a bench guy then, I believe. Too. It's really uncommon. 2016, Mondesi played 47 games before he got the call up for the postseason.
Well, this says Mondesi in 15.
15, you're right. So, but he played 15. One game, one plate appearance, one at bat.
Yeah.
That's
in 2020 was a weird year, so I don't know how much we can put into that. But Shane McClanahan, Alex Kirilloff, Ryan Weathers, All those guys made their debut in the playoffs. They didn't play in the regular season. Before that, you have to go back to 2006 and Mark Kiger, who I don't even know who that is. Yeah, so there is some precedent, but it's very, very limited at best. All right, we'll talk more about the roster, and we'll talk more about what expectations we should have coming into the postseason, because this season has been so weird. We'll see how everybody else feels about this when we come back on the rest of today's Locked On Guardians. All right, lots of playoff baseball going on, lots of NFL action, some good, some bad, depending on who you watch Monday Night Football. NFL season's here, and we know the NFL has offers with FanDuel you don't want to miss. Right now, if you're a new customer, put it down $5 if you're a new customer. If that bet hits, you're getting $300 in bonus bets. That's right. Pick a bet, put $5 down. You're going to unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app if you're a new customer. Makes football watching a lot more exciting. Got something riding on the action. And, there's obviously a lot of playoff baseball going on. Guardians, the Tigers are favored by 1.5 on Tuesday. The over-under 6.5. I definitely feel like the under is a good way to go with Tarek Skubal pitching and the Guardians offense. That's good for the Guardians, hopefully, because their only way they're going to win is a low-scoring matchup. So if you want to add some more anxiety to your playoff watching baseball, head over to FanDuel and be responsible. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com and download the FanDuel app today and get started. Make sure you are locked in to the Locked On Podcast Network all postseason long. If you like what you're hearing here and you want more playoff analysis around the league, make your second listen Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night until a World Series champion is crowned, you can get local analysis on the national scale. So you'll get my post-game reactions. You can get Jeff's. You can get Locked On Reds. You can get Locked On Dodgers, Padres, Cubs, Yankees, Red Sox, if that's your thing. But you can get analysis from local hosts as they cover every game in the playoffs every single night over at Locked On MLB and MLB Game Night. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the roster. So I think we said with Slade Ciccone going in Game 3, you slide Cantillo to the bullpen. Logan Allen, obviously, we knew wasn't going to be on the roster. I don't think anything else has changed. Like, Dom Nunez, I know some people were like, why not Cooper Ingle? And I was like, because they're not putting someone who is that inexperienced on the taxi squad. Like, if anything happens, they trust Dom Nunez as a defender with this pitching staff.
And then you'd have to 40-man him, which is already a mess this offseason.
Yeah. And that's another good point, too, about the DeLauter thing. So I know some people have asked me this, too. So if the Guardians do want to add Chase DeLauter to the playoff roster, he does have to be added to the 40-man. That has to happen. But there is no service time accrual in the postseason. So you don't have to worry about service time if that is or isn't an issue. But it's not. But I think the roster continues to be the same. Like, if DeLauter comes on, maybe it's one of Rodriguez or Noel. Maybe it's Valera. But I expect PD to be on as a pinch runner. We know Schneeman's making it. We know Martinez is making it.
Helping also just raises your defensive
yes late in the game you put him on for defense. You put we said Allen and Kent are off the roster, so that makes you could put Messick in the bullpen, I guess, with or maybe this is weird. This is really weird because they would just be so overloaded with left-handed outfield hitters. But is there a world where Parker Messick doesn't make the roster because you only need 3 starters and you put Chase DeLauter on the first round roster? Like, does that but what would you do? You have Kafis, you have Manzardo, you have Valera and Petey and Schneeman and then you'd have DeLauter as a lefty?
Well, since they're already taking off 2 pitchers, I don't think they want to take off another one, because then all of a sudden you're going from 13 to 12 to 11. I don't think they really want to run 11 pitchers.
But you put Allard and Cantillo with the bullpen. There's your length.
Yeah, but is it? I also don't know if they're really going to want to use Cantillo out of the pen, or if you're trying to preserve him to a degree to start Game 1, because they need. Like, they're not going to Cantillo. So I honestly don't think Cantillo is really that much of an option. So I think part of the problem too is you've got to balance those arms. Messick has he ever worked out of the pen? Like, that's its own set of issues. So, like, I think,
that's what I'm saying. What would you if Messick has if you're not going to use Messick out of the pen because it's never been done,
I could also
what's
see
the
a
point of him
world
being on the
where
roster?
I could see a world where it's Kent on and Messick off, just in case something goes terribly haywire and they need someone to eat a ton of innings, because Allard has been useful. Like,
But see, you can't do that in a 3-game series. You have, because it's so short. It's shorter than an ALDS game. You could do it in ALDS if you lose game 1 because you got 4 more. But I don't think you can afford to throw out a junk reliever like a
if you're
garbage
getting
time
hammered,
reliever.
I mean, we don't want it to
I don't
happen.
think
But like
no, but I mean you have to keep the game close because you like if you lose to Tarek Skubal game 1, your back's against the wall.
if
In
things
game
go
2,
sideways,
it's
if
must win.
Gavin Williams has like a start like he had in June, because he's never had a start like this in his career, and they're down 5 at some point, like they could go to a length.
I think you're bringing Kobe Allard or Joey Cantillo at that point. I think you're trying to keep the game
because
close.
you gotta. I think you still.
The
I
series
don't
is too
think
short.
I don't think
You
you
got to
go
win the series in front of you. You got to
You
win the
do,
series.
but like you also can't punt everything for the like that's where maybe it makes
Right,
more
you
sense.
can't punt any innings. Like you have to win right now. It's a 3-game series. Like you have to win 2, and
You also have to preserve your starter or your not starters, your relievers, not overuse them, keep them fresh, and not overexpose them as we saw a year ago. So like it's a balancing act. It's, don't get me wrong, like it's really hard, but like if a game 1 goes sideways, then you just have to fight for the next 2 and not throw there. If it's a lost cause, if you're down 5, that's basically a lost cause game. In most baseball games, that is a lost cause. You don't want to throw your good assets into what is already a lost cause. You have to circle the wagons and say the next 2 we have to take.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's better options to keep it close. Like I think you go to Kobe Allard or Jake Junis, and
I think you're going to need Allard just for the way that they platoon so much. Like you're going to have to be aggressive.
But you'd have Sabrowski and Heron, even though Heron might be a little.
Heron hasn't been good, and Sabrowski's command makes him a little bit untrustworthy. Like it's going to be interesting. It's difficult, right? Like you kind of wish they had another reliable pen arm to go to, even though the pen's been good.
I wish we had 2024 Tim Heron. I wish we had.
Yeah.
I wish we had Sam Henches. I wish we had Andrew Walters. I wish we had Nick Enright. Yeah, all that. I wish
we had Class A. You know, then we wouldn't have to worry at all because you just have Cade Smith is can get everything out. But yeah, that's kind of where they are. It's I could see them running 12 pitchers. I would be surprised if they dropped to 11. I think
it's the first 3-game series. I think you can. So I think you got to go out and you got to put your best foot forward.
I guess it depends how much they're going to want to try to do the nitty gritty of like, okay, let's go and throw a lefty for this inning. Like a year ago in the postseason, Vogt was like 5 innings, and then we're going to the pen and we're going to go matchups. And he did that a lot down this last 2 weeks as well, which makes me think he's going to do that again.
But this year, I think this year you have to get 6 innings out of your starters. I think it's the script is flipped. You want to get
that's not how he did this last 2 weeks.
Well, with Gavin and Tanner, it's a different story. Now,
I mean, even with them, he kind of played it pretty close. Like he definitely went kind of more how he did.
Not against the Tigers though. When it was against the Tigers 2 weeks ago, it was.
He still pulled Cantillo early in his start when he was pitching well.
Yes, Cantillo is one thing, but Gavin and Tanner, you want to ride 6-7 if you can. Oh God, never mind. And then you want to get
going. It's Matitius. That's good night, and I will see you all later. Bye.
That's you want to get Gaddis and Cade Smith and Sabrowski and all that setup, whatever. That was totally unintentional, just FYI. So we'll see. I think the better starting pitching unit this series wins. Let's talk about expectations for a minute too. We'll give our predictions here as we wrap this one up. I don't want to sit here and say this before and be like a cop out or whatever, but if they don't win, I'm going to be obviously disappointed. It's going to be a bummer if the season comes to an end and they don't win this series. But my expectation for the series at this point, I'm not saying they're not going to win. I'm just saying my outlook on the season isn't any worse for losing this series to the Tigers in October because of what happened. In a vacuum, yes, it would be disappointing because you regressed from a year ago. Like you didn't win a postseason series you did a year ago. But given everything that's happened this year, you got to have context. Like the fact they even won the division and are here, given everything that's unfolded this year, to me changes things completely. Like I would have liked for them to have been better this year and things to pan out the way we wanted, but it didn't. That's baseball sometimes. The fact they made this run to get here, I'm not saying it's good enough. Nobody wants to just be a division champion and be knocked out in 3 days. but
or 2 days.
or 48 hours, whatever. But still, I have to be realistic that the season is still a success because of the context of what had happened throughout the months of the season.
Anything can happen in the postseason. We know that. We talk about the one year they made the World Series is probably the year they shouldn't have due to all their pitching injuries.
Absolutely.
There is part of me that's like, no matter what happens, this is an accomplished season because of the fact that, they set the record books. They did something unbelievable that, so many people basically left them for dead and they came around. I'm sure there's people out there who tell you that, that they would rather have that, winning the division title than getting in the second round and losing. Like, I think there's those. Now, if you're saying, get into the next round and win and keep winning, I think that's a different story. But I think if you asked a decent amount of people, like, would you rather had the division and a first round exit or the wild card and, a second round exit? I'd be curious to see what the stats are. You can comment below. Maybe I'm insane in that. But I think touching history is exciting for a lot of people. Getting to see a run like that, getting to overcome, the Tigers, who were the behemoth, the number one seed most of the year, is something special in its own regards.
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously 2017. That team was a juggernaut, and they won that 22-game winning streak. But you got to see something that season that has not been done in our lifetimes. And obviously it didn't end the way everybody wanted. Same here, though. We've never seen what the Guardians did this year. We've never seen that kind of comeback. So you got to see history at some point in the season. It may not be a World Series, but you saw something that no team has ever accomplished before. Same with the 22-game winning streak. And that to me at the end of the day still matters. It's I can't put all my hopes and my happiness on 48 hours.
Small market team has won the whole dang thing since no they're not considered, I guess, the smallest market. The thing on The Athletic today said the Miami Marlins
in 2003. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's the last time that a what is considered a smaller market team. I guess Kansas City, due to some of its proximities, is not quite on that same level.
All right, then. All right, well, my prediction, Guardians in 3. The Guardians win on a walk-off balk by Al Albuquerque. If you know, you know. I'm sure that something like that will happen in this series. The Guardians will have to score a run on a balk or something. So I'm going to say Guardians in 3. Take your antacids and check your blood pressure. And pay attention to your watches when it tells you your stress levels are high, because it's probably going to happen.
I've been the king of the jinx this year, so I think I have to pick the Tigers then, right? Like, just for the sake of, for everyone, since my jinx score has been through the roof, I should say the Tigers in 3 to balance that out. I don't know if I acknowledge it, maybe it doesn't count. I don't want to risk jinxing the jinx, though, so I'm going to say Tigers to just get way down the rabbit hole on this and not jinx the jinx. All
right, you heard it here first. Jeff thinks the Guardians are going to lose, but that means they're going to win? I don't know. I've lost track of which way the spider webs all go. But I know you can count on one thing. We'll be here for you after every single game. We'll cover all the playoff games, whether it's 2, 3, or 13. Who knows what'll happen. But stick with us. We'll be here. Be back tomorrow to talk Game 1, and we'll preview Game 2.
And as always, we appreciate you joining us. We hope you've enjoyed the ride as much as we have. We're rooting for them. We want this World Series. We want them to keep winning. Thank you all for joining us. And go Guardians, go. Beat the Tigers.